If you've ever said, hear me out about a monster, this episode is for you. Women don't love monsters because they're dangerous. We love them because they give us something that we can't typically want out loud. Welcome back to Hot Girl Horror 101, the series where we learn horror together through themes, tropes, and subgenres, all typically through a feminine lens. I'm Eden. This is Final Girl Eden. Let's talk horror. Instead of giving you a list of reasons why women love monsters, I want to talk about the monsters themselves. We kind of can break them down into some archetypes. This is, of course, not a comprehensive list. This is just a few of my faves. These are the kinds of monsters that women are typically drawn to and what they offer that society keeps telling us we can't have or we can't want. Okay, that's the baseline thesis for today, if you will. Starting out with one of my personal faves, the misunderstood monster. The misunderstood monster is not evil. The misunderstood monster is unwanted. It's a monster who wanted connection or safety or love or friendship and was instead treated like shit or punished for it. They're feared not because they're inherently cruel, but because they don't fit. They don't fit the mold. They exist outside of what is considered familiar or comfortable or easy to explain. And women understand this immediately. Women see themselves in this monster. Okay. It's when the monster becomes a mirror. It's not because of them being violent. It's because they are being misread. They're being flattened or punished because other people have fears about things that are not familiar to them. What makes these monsters compelling isn't anything about their behavior or what they do. It's about what's done to them. This is one monster where we're drawn to them because of how they're being treated. They are not born monstrous. I think that is the most important part about this. They're not born monstrous. They become monstrous. They are made monstrous through rejection, isolation, and fear that is being projected onto them. The worst part about this is that in these instances, the punishment comes first and then they commit the crime. Make it make sense. To me, the clearest and most obvious example of this is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein's creature isn't violent by nature. In fact, he wants companionship. He's gentle. He's curious, but he's feared because he doesn't look the part. He looks scary to society's standards. And he's honestly rejected and treated horribly before he even has a chance to explain himself. He is immediately denied humanity. And so his monstrosity is not inherent. It's a response. It's a trauma response. Women don't see themselves in the creature because the creature is feared and we want to be feared. That's not the analogy here. It's that we see ourselves in the creature because we know what it's like to be punished for existing outside of what is expected of us, whether that's our body shape, what we look like, what we wear, what our style is, what our beliefs are, whether we want to have children. There's a million things that women are judged for if they don't fit the mold. And there's a million different molds too, but that's besides the point. And now that I'm thinking about, who else belongs in this category? Shrek. Shrek is a misunderstood monster. He just wants to be left alone in his swamp. Anyways, so sometimes we've got misunderstood monsters, but sometimes women aren't drawn to monsters because they're misunderstood. Sometimes we're drawn to them because they're powerful as fuck and they do not get punished for it. They get to do whatever they want. Women are raised inside of a rule book. Women are supposed to be polite. We're supposed to be agreeable, be thin, but not too thin, be ambitious, but not intimidating, wear makeup, but it should be that no makeup look, want things not too loudly though, be easy, but not too easy or you're a slut. I could honestly keep going. I'm trying to create a YouTube video, not a list of reasons that I need to call and make an appointment with my therapist. Anyways, powerful monsters get to break all of those rules. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're threatening, they want things openly. They're just I want this. They take up space without apologizing. Their power is not granted to them by anyone. It's just inherent. The power is just theirs and they're expected to act with their power. Can't be taken away by men or marriages or institutions or social approval. Women are drawn to these types of monsters, to powerful monsters, because it represents unpunished power, the kind women rarely are allowed to hold. I think in literature, a great example of this is Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a vampire book, but in this book, the vampires don't ask for permission to exist. They don't soften themselves to be digestible. They aren't interested in redemption for the sake of morality. And realistically, with this type of monster, the appeal isn't romance. It's not like us thirsting for vampires, though we do. It's about autonomy. Power that simply is. It's not something that can be taken away once you decide it belongs to you. We see it in a lot of different books. I mean, we see this in Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. We see this in books like the Gilda stories, and even going back to folklore and and fairy tales in stories like Bluebeard. But the power alone isn't what makes a monster compelling. A lot of women are drawn to monsters because they're honest. They don't pretend to be safe. They don't soften themselves. They don't perform innocence. They tell you exactly who they are. Humans, on the other hand, lie. Humans lie. Humans manipulate. Humans gaslight. Humans hide ill intent behind like politeness. Honest monsters don't do that. Honest monsters are really good communicators. They say, I'm dangerous. They say, I want you. They say, this is going to cost you something. There's no second guessing yourself. You know exactly where you stand with an honest monster. They tell you, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And you believe them because they're telling the truth. So again, not that they're safe, it's that they're clear communicators. And for a lot of women, that feels safer than chaos. That feels safer than your boyfriend telling you you're being dramatic or gaslighting you into second guessing whether or not your experience was real or not. Okay. Personally, I'm taking that any day. I'm taking the honest monster over that bullshit any day of the week. Women aren't drawn to honest monsters because they're dangerous. Again, it's not really about danger. We're drawn to them because their honesty removes the guessing. We know where we stand. We know the rules. We know the stakes. The monster doesn't promise protection. They promise truth. I think a perfect example of this is Let Me In. Eli never pretends to be harmless. She's super clear about what she is, what she needs, what loving her is going to cost. There's no manipulation. There's just survival, honesty, and choice. The violence isn't hidden. The danger's not denied. And I think that transparency is exactly what makes her feel emotionally safer than the humans surrounding them. She doesn't offer comfort. She offers clarity. It's that simple. And I think that this is where we start to transition into the romantic monster. Okay. It wouldn't be a monster loving video if we didn't talk about the monster lovers. The monster lover boys, the monster lover girls. The romantic monster is not romantic because they are good. It is not like, I don't want this like washed out modern paranormal romance where it's like basically just a nice guy who also happens to be a vampire. I'm talking about the romantic monster that is romantic because they see you for you and they don't fucking flinch. They're like, yes, bring that hot mess express over. They want you to be messy. They don't want the version of you that's easier to manage because guess what? They're not trying to manage you. They want hunger. They want mess. They want the parts of you that in reality we are told that we need to dim. Romantic monsters want women despite their dark side. They want women despite of all that. And they love them because of it. They don't need you to like go to therapy and become healed first. They don't mistake intensity for flaw. They don't need you to like perform goodness to be worthy of desire. They just desire you. The fantasy with monsters from this perspective isn't about danger. Once again, it's never about danger. The fantasy is being desired without self-erasure. How sad is that? That's why we love monsters. This one, are you listening, men? Are you listening? Tap, tap, tap. Now hear me out when I give this example, okay? I really need you to just listen in. I'm not just like giving you a smutty monster romance recommendation because I can, even though I can. But I think that a great example of this is Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. This monster never asks the heroine to become a smaller, quieter version of herself. This book is about a woman who wants to join this guild. She can't without permission from her husband. So it's a marriage of convenience story. Also, the MMC is a minotaur. I do love me a minotaur. But he doesn't want her to change. She's a little loud. She's a little rambunctious. She doesn't really meet the like femininity standards of the reality of this book. And so I love this for that reason. I really, really liked this book. She's not this like small, petite, perfect person that anybody would love. She is a little bit loud. She like lies a little bit. She's not perfect. And the romance in this story works because he's not trying to change her. But he recognizes her and he chooses her without hesitation. That is the appeal. Not safety, not control, desire that doesn't require self-erasure. Sometimes the monster that women love isn't outside of us at all. Sometimes the monster is the woman. The monstrous woman exists because female desire, anger, hunger, autonomy have always been framed as dangerous. A woman becomes monstrous in horror the moment she stops suppressing what she wants. It's fucking diabolical. Like if you really think about it, that is diabolical. She's not possessed. She's not corrupted. She's fucking awake. That's where you get a monstrous woman. Again, we've already talked a little bit about these books. There's a reason I repeat a lot of books in my videos, and it's because it's just hammering in on the things I'm talking about, that with like feminine horror and horror for women. But books like Goddess of Filth, which is a possession story, Mary, which is also low-key a possession haunting final girl cult story. We have Come Closer, another possession story, and Night Bitch, which is one where she's losing bodily autonomy because has dog urges, basically. All of these books, the horror isn't actually about the transformation. It's the fact that all of these women were expected to endure surviving a life that was really never meant to be sustainable. Like, all of them were suppressing some part of themselves. And as soon as they leaned into that side of themselves, they were all of a sudden monstrous. So women don't love monsters because they want danger. They love monsters because monsters let them imagine a version of themselves that can exist outside of society's norms, that doesn't have to be fucking polite, doesn't have to smile to appease a man on the street that they don't even fucking know. They don't have to be small or, timid, waiting to be chosen by someone. Monsters are where women find their hunger. Like, monsters represent female hunger, their anger, their desire, their power. Once you see monsters as metaphors and not mistakes, women loving them stops being this like strange anomaly. It makes a lot of fucking sense. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that women are going to love monsters. Okay, end rant. This is Hot Girl Horror 101. If you have ever rooted for the monster and you didn't know why, now you do. And if you want more horror through a feminine lens, you know what to do. Okay, love you. Bye.